This is an official announcement from the Podcast Tonight Awards. Your favourite show that you're listening to right now has been officially nominated for a Podcast Tonight Award. But the power is in your hands. Amongst other categories, this show is in the running for the prestigious Listener's Choice Award, and they need your vote to win. You can show your support and help them get the recognition they deserve. The link to vote is in their show notes and bio. Go now and make your voice heard. This has been a message from Podcast Tonight, celebrating the best in audio.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch transportation.
It's probably the least sexy part of the organization. It's okay. No. The truth is.
So what happens when your biggest hit also becomes your greatest regret? And then you build a career out of telling stories that make others rethink the way they tell theirs. Meet Alan Katz, a former TV and film writer and producer whose early success included co-creating one of my favorites, the legendary Tales from the Crypt, and bringing that badass crypt keeper to life. But then comes the film he never wanted to make, the second Tales feature, Bordello of Blood, and everything changed. From crash landing his career to launching his own podcast company, Costard and Touchstone Productions, Alan now dedicates himself to the power of true stories told with raw honesty. Wait a minute, that's wrong. So I was going to say 5 podcasts, but he said 9 now. So 9 podcasts.
It is when I first sent that information across to you, we had 5. We just this very week have dropped 4 more brand new podcasts. Well, 3 new podcasts and the second season of The Hall Closet.
Holy cow. So 9 total, and you probably still got more that you're working on.
There are a dozen in various stages of coming into being.
That is awesome. All right. So first of all, because I definitely want to get into the podcasting part, but for those people that live under a rock and never even heard of Tales from the Crypt.
Get out from under the rock.
Yeah,
you need to expose yourself to a few things.
Explain to everybody how you got into producing to the Hollywood scene, and especially now with the podcasting.
I had a remarkable ride. Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I certainly, if you told me when I was 16 where my life would end up, I would have thought, what are you smoking, man? And can I have it? Can I have a
exactly.
bail? I grew up in Baltimore on the East Coast, and I was a theater, a drama-rama kind of person. All the plays that we put on, I was always in those. I went to Vassar outside in New York, and I was a drama major at Vassar, and that was a great experience. And when I graduated from Vassar, now I should point out, I've always been a writer.
Okay.
I've been writing professionally since I was 16. That was the first time anyone paid me money to type. So I always took writing for granted. When I went to Vassar, I thought I was going to be an actor. Mm-hmm. I went to one audition after graduating from Vassar. I was completely unprepared. I sucked, frankly. But I walked out of the audition saying to myself, what kind of an idiot makes their living this way? I'm going to go be a writer instead, which really just a different version of an idiot. And I began making, little industrial films and training films when I was living in New York, right. But I really writing plays, and I still thought New York theater. New York was the center of the universe. I had a friend from Baltimore, where I grew up. She had become an agent in the literary department at William Morris in Los Angeles, Carol Yemkes. And Carol said to me, knowing that I was writing again and working as a writer, she said, you should try writing a screenplay. That had been in my mind. And so I said, okay. And I tapped one out and I sent it to her. And she said, this is pretty good. You should come out and meet and greet people. And so In June of 1985, I flew out for a week to meet and greet people. Now, at that particular time, burgeoning New Yorker that I was, Los Angeles was the stupidest fucking place on the planet. It was the land of the avocado head. Just fucking stupid. But, June on the East Coast, in New York especially, it's hot, it's humid already, and every place smells like piss. But in L.A., it's the desert. There's no humidity. Right. It was beautiful. And back in 1985, it was a lot less crowded than it is now, and it was lovely, and people were really, really nice to me. They blew copious amounts of smoke up my ass. It was fantastic. One evening, Carol, my agent, took me to a movie premiere, St. Elmo's Fire. Yeah. William Morris represented the package, and I had this backstage view. Man, that was intoxicating. At the party afterwards, someone pointed out I had no meeting scheduled the next morning. He said, you should take a drive through Topanga Canyon. Now, which is what I did. Topanga Canyon is a lovely, somewhat wild part of Los Angeles, a lot less wild now than it was back in 1985. But the drive from the 101, the freeway, through the Santa Monica Mountains as they plunge into the Pacific Ocean at the Pacific Coast Highway. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Yeah. You're within the city limits. By the time I got to the water, I had been completely seduced by Los Angeles. New York, fuck New York. And the very next month, I moved out, everything. Me and the dog, we moved out to Los Angeles. And among the first people I met that first week when I went out in June was this producer named Gil Adler. And Gil quickly became my best friend, my creative partner. Now, I did not come out of horror.
Right.
Horror was not my thing. I came out of comedy. What I wrote, what I was pitching, these were all comedies. And Gil came out of theater in New York in comedy. But he trained as an accountant. And so he understood that if you have $1 to make your movie or TV show or show, do not spend $1, because you haven't got it. Now, if you can make your TV show or movie for 99 cents or 98 cents, make it still look like that $1, this is good. Better yet, if you can do it for 97 cents, make it look like $1, well, now you're on to something. The creative process is problem solving.
Right.
And Gil's solution to the problems wasn't throw more money at it, it was throw more creativity at it.
Smart.
Which was exactly the way that I approached it. So that was the nature of our creative bond. And Gil was again, like a strong producer. He had worked for HBO on a series called The Hitchhiker.
Oh, yes.
Shot up in Vancouver. And he was, brought that in, did a great job with that. A little bit after that, HBO had a problem production. That it was big money talent. It was over budget. The schedule was a mess. It was called Vietnam War Stories. It was shooting in Savannah, and they sent Gil in to take it over and try to right the ship. And he did. He brought it in on time and brought the budget under control, and it won awards.
Oh, wow.
So nothing got compromised. A couple of years later, HBO had another problem production, and it needed someone just to steady the ship, and that was called Tales from the Crypt. Now, at the time that HBO started Tales from the Crypt, this is the late 80s, they were still mostly the movies.
Yeah.
They really were just beginning to dip their toe into original programming. They had a show called Dream On, another called First and 10. Mm-hmm. But these are basically just single camera shows with tits and the word fuck.
Right.
If you took tits and fuck out of them, they were basically just network ready single camera shows in every other way. Suddenly you had these 4 mega producers, Hollywood movie producers. Joel Silver. Joel, of course, is the Lethal Weapon franchise, the Matrix movies, Predator, Alien movies. This is all Joel Silver action movie franchises. Walter Hill, 48 Hours, and lots of great action movies. Richard Donner, The Omen, Superman, Returns, and of course Joel Silver, Bob Zemeckis, Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, Castaway. These four mega producers approached HBO with a passion project from their childhood. EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt, the Vault of Horror, all of the horror, and they approached HBO and they said, we want to bring this passion project from our boyhoods, and we want to bring this feature film size vision and stick it inside your little TV box. And HBO jumped up and down and said, yeah, do whatever the fuck you want, guys. So normally in a TV series, you go through a development process because, all right, it's not automatic that, I want to take the franchise features from a comic book written in the 1950s with a very particular, stylistic look and feel.
That was the 50s?
Take all those elements. Yeah,
wow.
In the 1950s is when the EC Comics were all published. But you want to take all that stuff and transfer it into a whole different medium, a TV series. Well, it doesn't transfer itself. Someone has to oversee how do we take all these elements and from here and put them into there? Well, no one got hired to do that. The first 3 episodes of Tales from the Crypt are 3 classics. They're amazing. Dick Donner's Dig This Cat, He's Real Gone. Walter Hill's The Man Who Was Death. And Bob's All Through the House. 3 fucking brilliant bits. What amazing television. Holy fucking cow. And that's why HBO ordered then a back 3, and then they ordered a second season of 18 and a third season of 13 episodes. As they headed into the second season, the 18 episodes, like I said, nobody was minding the store in terms of the concept, so the episodes were kind of up and down. They also never did what you need to do in a TV series. Well, how do you pay for this whole thing? HBO was going to pay, in essence, what's called the license fee. Now, whatever HBO was going to pay for the first time that it was going to get shown, the second time it was going to get shown, that's not going to pay for the cost of production. You need a deficit partner to come in and cover the costs until this thing becomes profitable, if it ever becomes profitable. And they never got anyone to do that, so HBO was cash flowing the whole thing. And the night before the season 2 wrap party, HBO handed the executive producers, these 4 big movie producers, a financial statement that said, guys, you're $1 million cash in the hole. If you want your season 3, and there was lots of money for the executive producers, fees in season 3, if you want season 3, pay us what you owe us.
Yeah.
And so the executive producers promptly canceled the wrap party, fired everybody, got out their checkbooks, and paid HBO $1 million to get their season 3, knowing that, first of all, they took the $1 million out of the budget.
Oh, shit.
For season 3. So they got their $1 million back immediately. So that was how they were going to do this. They needed the season 3 just to pay their debt. And the whole point of season 3 was to just see HBO Tales from the Crypt into the graveyard. And that's why HBO wanted to hire Gil Adler, because he would be a responsible producer who wouldn't cost them any money. He would get it done efficiently, and that would be the end of Tales from the Crypt. Now, I was Gil's creative partner at the time, and since the Crypt partners had never put anyone in that, let's call it a story editor, a producer position, a creative producer position, responsible for overseeing the franchise, a showrunner, in essence, is what they never got. All right. So if they were going to have a season 3, it needed a producer. It was going to be Gil. And since Gil said, I got to have Alan, that's how I got the job doing Tales from the Crypt, though I did not have the bona fides to do anything, to be the showrunner on that. Now, Gil and I had worked together on a show called Freddy's Nightmares. The Gil had produced, and we wrote a bunch of episodes for, and Gil directed. The first time he ever directed was on a Freddy's Nightmares, and we learned a lot from that experience. But Tales from the Crypt kind of... my job when I got to Tales from the Crypt was one to oversee the transfer of all those franchise elements from the comic books into the script, to be really that showrunner that had not been there before. And so I was the last typist that every script saw. Before it went to our department heads, before it went to casting, before we made anything, it had to go through me. That was my first job, to make sure that everything was redolent of our source.
Right.
It all felt like Tales from the Crypt. My other job was to write all the Crypt Keeper segments.
Which was the funny parts.
Now, here's the weird thing. Just like there was no development process for the TV series Tales from the Crypt and no deficit partner, there was no development process for the Crypt Keeper either. The Crypt Keeper in the EC Comics is an old white guy with stringy hair. The executive producers wanted their own Crypt Keeper. And one day, purely by happenstance, at a storage facility, Joel Silver, executive producer, had his locker here, and across the hallway was a storage locker owned by a special effects maestro named Kevin Yeager. And among Kevin's other creations is Chucky.
Okay.
So when Joel saw what was inside Kevin's Kevin's locker, Kevin's Yeager, inside Kevin's Yeager, oh, very good. Inside Kevin's locker, he said, "You got to make me a Crypt Keeper," and that's what Kevin did. He made the Crypt Keeper. Now the Crypt Keeper was actually 6 puppeteers working in concert. There was one the left arm, one the right arm, one was the body, forward, backward, lateral. And there were 3 other puppeteers working the animatronics of his face. So that was a remarkable creation and a remarkable bit of puppetry as well. But no one ever asked the question, who is he? I should point out, I jumped ahead there. Kevin created this incredible puppet. And then Kevin found John Kassir to be the voice. So you had a great puppet, a great voice, but no one asked the question, who is he? And so whoever wrote the scripts would throw dialogue at the Crypt Keeper, and that's basically what he would say. Now, my job was to write all his segments. And I don't know how you write for a character who doesn't exist, who isn't there.
Oh.
And so just to do my damn job, I needed to stick a character inside him, because especially you want him to be funny.
Yeah.
You can't be generic. It has to come from some place inside the character. Now, I grew up loving old movies. In addition to being a drama-rama, I was an old movie lover, and I loved the Marx Brothers.
Oh my! All right, don't tell me it was Groucho.
The Crypt Keeper became my little Groucho.
Really?
He absolutely look at all the puns.
Well,
and so he became my little Groucho, and having to stick put a personality inside the Crypt Keeper, and being a writer and therefore somewhat lazy, I reached for the closest personality at hand, which was mine. And though the Crypt Keeper looks like Kevin's puppet, he sounds like John's voice, every thought in his head, every word that tumbled from his animatronic mouth was me.
Wow.
And a strange thing happened over the course of the 3rd season, which was supposed to be the end of Tales from the Crypt. And because Gil and I reinvested in the franchise elements, that the passion that drove the project to begin with.
Made it good.
Well, it just reinvested it with some passion. We also went after big movie stars, because that was also part of the original mandate. So we went after that. But more than anything, it turns out at the end of the day, in retrospect, it was investing the Crypt Keeper with a personality that actually altered the outcome. And by about the middle of the season, HBO realized, because the response to season 3 was so strong, that no, they shouldn't end it now. We should continue it. And we ended up doing 5. I ended up doing 5 seasons and 70 some odd episodes. And doing Tales from the Crypt, and everyone who worked on that show would tell you, looking back on their careers, was one of the highlights The 5 seasons that I worked on, that I oversaw, the 70 some odd episodes, I got a total of 3 notes from HBO. 3. Well, that's wow, what freedom. But that was the freedom we all had to do the jobs we got hired to do. It was a magnificent, it was a great creative experience. As we got going on the 4th season, Universal Pictures saw that our franchise suddenly was a franchise. It was not before. And our franchise had value beyond the little TV screen. And so Universal Pictures said, hey, we'd like you to do 3 Tales from the Crypt branded feature films for us. They can all be completely different. You're an anthology. They should all be completely different. And we said, okay, let's do it. Gil was supposed to direct the first one, but we're not horror guys.
Right.
And we were very much worried about the town, Hollywood, pegging us as one-trick ponies. We were horror guys and nothing but. And since we weren't horror guys to begin with, that was the last thing on earth we wanted. For a little while, the Crypt partners toyed with making a thing called From Dusk Till Dawn with a guy called Quentin Tarantino, but we couldn't make a deal with Quentin, and so that went differently. We found, I think, a script that was better called Demon Knight, and by Cy Voris and Ethan Reif, and we ended up making that instead. But that was a monster movie, really, and Gil didn't want to make a monster movie, so he said, I'm not going to direct this one. We'll do the second one. That will be ours. And so instead we oversaw the script and production of Demon Knight, which we got Ernest Dickerson to direct, and Ernest did a fantastic job. An amazing cast. Billy Zane is the villain. He's amazingly good. Jada Pinkett Smith and Bill Sadler are the heroes. They're really terrific. The whole cast is good. A terrific movie. Yeah, really super proud to have my name on it. We began working on developing the script that we wanted to do as the second Crypt movie. It was a thing called Dead Easy. We had evolved it from a script we had found called Fat Tuesday, and this became our passion project. Dead Easy was what was supposed to be the second Tales from the Crypt feature. It was a taut psychological thriller about a recovered memory. It took place in the swamps outside New Orleans. It had a great villain, a franchise villain, this Harlequin character. Universal Pictures must have been down with it because we were spending their money, and we were casting. We had cast a young unknown named Salma Hayek to play the female lead.
Really?
We spent 6 months in New Orleans prepping the movie. 3 weeks before the start of principal photography in New Orleans, Universal called us and said, stop. Don't spend another penny. You're not going to make that movie. Come back to Los Angeles.
Wow.
And so, shaken, we got on a plane. We went back to Los Angeles, and when we got there, they stuck a script under our nose. They said, hey, you're going to make this instead. It was called Bordello of Blood. They said, your release date hasn't changed. You still start in 3 weeks. Get going. You're writing this thing, guys. Get to work. Now, where the fuck did Bordello of Blood come from? Okay. At about this time, a new studio called DreamWorks had come into being. Now, DreamWorks was Steven Spielberg leaving his deal at Universal, not the lot, but leaving his deal at Universal to set up shop as a brand new studio. And he began to make deals with other talent, as a studio would have to. Universal was desperately afraid of losing another big piece of talent to this new studio, one of my executive producers, Bob Zemeckis. Spielberg was his mentor. Universal approached Bob. They said, Bob, we love you, Universal. What can we do to make you stay? And I don't know any other part of the deal. He stayed, so obviously the deal was good. I know one deal point. Universal Pictures agreed to buy the first student script that Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale ever wrote when they were still film school students at USC, a thing called Bordello of Blood, for $500,000.
Wow.
That's it. It was a deal point. It was simply a way to put $500,000 in Bob's pocket.
Right.
And there was no intention to make the movie, but now Universal sat there thinking to themselves, geez, Are we just going to eat $500,000? Wait a minute. Bob's about to executive produce this other horror movie, this Dead Easy thing. Well, fuck that. That cost like $50,000. Screw that. We'll take it out of their budget. Guys, you're making Bordello of Blood instead. That's got Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale's name on it. That's bigger than Ellen Katz and Gil Adler's name, right? Guys, you got 3 weeks. Get going. Now, this was crushing because we all went from prepping to make a passion project, something that we thought would demonstrate to the town how multifaceted we could be, to making a student movie because of a deal point? What the fuck? How fucking cynical do you want to, can you possibly be? Well, once you head down that pathway, this deeply cynical pathway, do not be surprised when every day is stupider than the day before, which is exactly what happened. And in very short order, really, every single decision that got made thereafter seemed to be for the wrong reasons or the worst possible reasons. In the end, we made Bordello of Blood up in Vancouver, Canada, not because Vancouver, Canada, we suddenly said, hey, the thing we need to make this movie successful is up in Vancouver. No. We went to Vancouver because Joel Silver, my executive producer, was always at war with the IA, the union that represented our crew. And sometimes Joel was winning the war, and sometimes the IA was winning the war. Well, the IA was winning the war. Well, a little bit before this, they had shut down a TV movie we were doing for Fox. And so Joel's attitude at that point was still, fuck me, no, fuck you. And so rather than make the movie in Los Angeles with our crew, who knew how to do what we do, we went to Vancouver simply because it was the nearest production hub outside Los Angeles.
Wow.
Now, that proved rather costly because we're a horror movie. Our stock and trade when you're making a horror movie is night. We were doing this in July. When you go that far north in July, one of the things you do not have very much of is night. No. The sky doesn't get shootable dark until about midnight.
Really?
And around 4 a.m. Yeah, shootable dark. And then it gets the first hints of sunlight about 4 a.m. You're done. So your 13-hour filming day is 4 hours.
Wow.
Why would you make such a choice? Why would you make? Well, we didn't make the choice organically. We made the choice, we're going to go here instead. Well, what foolishness. And of course, that bit us in the ass repeatedly. All right. Our first problem, though, was rewriting the script because the main character is a small-town detective. Now, ask yourself, how much business can a detective really do in a small town? Not enough. Yeah, a small-town detective, that's the kind of thing that, I don't know, film school students might concoct because they're fucking film school students who haven't lived in the world for 2 seconds to know, oh, that's pretty incongruous, actually. So we have a character. Well, I got to rewrite this character in 3 weeks to make the character make sense.
Jesus.
How are you going to, so that in no way can this character explain to himself, well, all right, how did I become a small town detective? What led me here? Where did I come from exactly? No such person exists. And that's going to make it hard when the actor, whoever we eventually hire, comes to you and says, so who is this guy exactly? Well, he's nobody actually, because no such person could exist. All right. But this was part of the problem that we had to solve, but was absolutely not solvable. All right. Casting became, if we could cast well, we might be able to get through this. But Joel took over casting the three leads. And that became quite problematic. Now, we wanted, like I said, the hero is incongruous, but we wanted Danny Baldwin, and we could have hired Danny Baldwin. Danny Baldwin was quite willing to do it, but Joel insisted no, he wanted Dennis Miller.
Huh?
And to this day, I cannot tell you why Dennis Miller. Our audience was there for special effects makeup. At that time, Dennis Miller did a political comedy show for HBO, which our audience had nothing to do with. Now, Dennis didn't want to do the movie, and when Joel said, "Hey, I want you to do this movie," Dennis said, "All right, pay me $1 million," figuring no one in their right mind would pay Dennis Miller $1 million to be in a feature film. Hey, we saw his quotes before we made this ludicrous offer. He had done, I think, 3 or 4 feature films for scale. Scale. Which is all he deserved, period. Right. Because he had no feature films. No, he's not that guy. But like I said, Dennis said, I'll do it for $1 million. And Joel said, okay. We didn't have $1 million in the budget for this. We were a $12 million movie. I had $500,000 in the budget for that role. We went to Universal and we said, can we get some help or get some breakage? And they said, we don't know why you're hiring him. I mean, we think it's stupid. No, you can't have any breakage.
Wow.
Take it out of your budget, which is what we did. So we were a $12 million movie. All the money was in special effects makeup. We took the money out of special effects makeup, out of the thing that our audience wanted to see, to pay for an actor they didn't give a fuck about. And that was what our executive producers had us do. Well, what Joel had us do. All right. For the female lead, Gil and I wanted an actress named Bridget Wilson. Joel wanted Erica Eleniak. All right. At least I never understood why he wanted Dennis. I understood why he wanted Erica. He thought he could score on her. No, she was involved in a long-term relationship. That was never going to happen. And it turned out that just after Erica agreed to be the lead in a movie called Bordello of Blood, she decided she didn't want to be that kind of actress in that kind of movie. Even though, I will point out, we had $250,000 in the movie for that role, and Joel paid her $500,000. So that was another $250,000 that had to come out of special effects and makeup. All right, our audience would be interested in that actor, but the world was not clamoring for that actress at that time. He paid her that extra money because he wanted to impress her, and as part of the, hey, I paid you more than anyone was going to pay to be in the... God damn it, it's so fucking stupid. Well, Erica, like I said, never wanted to be in the movie, and Gil is a terrific producer. And whether he is producing, whether he's directing, what he likes to do production-wise is to start shooting on a Thursday. So you get Thursday, Friday. If you have any big production issues or the script needs to be, fixed in some way, or an actor needs to be replaced, you have the weekend to do it. You can start the first week fresh with most of your production problems, hopefully, if not solved, at least you've seen them coming. Mm-hmm. And so you can begin to address them. It's very clever producing. And so we had started shooting on a Thursday, and we shot Thursday, Friday, a couple of bar scenes with our actors from Vancouver. I'm expecting Erica Eleniak to be on an airplane Saturday, fly in Saturday to settle in on Sunday, to be on wardrobe on Monday, to work on Tuesday. On Saturday, I get a call from her manager telling me she ain't getting on an airplane because we need to rewrite the script first.
What?
Because she doesn't want to be that kind of actress in this kind of movie. Well, the character was a former porn star named Chesty O'Toole, and she doesn't want to play a porn star. Well, there are bits and pieces of plot that hinge on the fact that this character played that. We're shooting the movie already. You want me to rewrite it now? What the... Ultimately, her manager and I negotiated down to, okay, she was a former plus-sized porn star named Chubby O'Toole, who is now unrecognizable in her current incarnation. Okay. So we agreed to this, and finally, so she'll get on an airplane, and she was there. But from the moment she arrived, she made it quite clear she had no desire to be there. All right. The villain of the piece, we wanted Robin Givens. Mm-hmm. And we could have gotten Robin, and I think Robin would have given us a fantastic performance. But at the time that we were about to start making Bordello of Blood in Vancouver, our executive producer Joel and our executive producer Dick Donner were making another movie in Seattle called Assassins, which Dick was directing, Joel was executive producing. It starred Antonio Banderas and Sylvester Stallone. And at the time, Sylvester Stallone was engaged to a supermodel named Angie Everhart.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And one day on the set of Assassins, apparently Stallone approached Joel. He said, "Hey, Joel, here we're making a movie in Vancouver. Why don't you put my girlfriend Angie in a movie? That way we can visit each other across the border." And Joel, instead of being a responsible executive producer and saying, "That's a great idea, Sly, but let me check with the guys to make sure it works for them," he said, "That's a great idea, Sly." Period. And our executive producer committed us to hire the girlfriend of an actor on one set to be the villain, the most important part, in another movie, just so they could visit each other across the border.
Wow.
It wasn't because Joel suddenly said, "Angie, you'd be brilliant in this movie because something is..." No, that was not what happened. That was not the reason for anything. Now, it would turn out at the end of the day that Sly actually had an ulterior motive.
Okay.
He wanted to break up with Angie.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of the day, 2/3 of the way of the movie, he broke up with Angie, and we were the consolation prize. And, "Hey, I got your movie, didn't I?" Which is what he said to her. What he said to her when he broke up.
Wow.
Now, before that happened, early on, of course, the point of the exercise was so we could visit each other across the border. So early on, our production office would arrange with their production office to transport Angie from Vancouver across the border to Seattle, get the visit, and then get her back in time to work at the end of the weekend. So our production offices had a relationship. There was a lot of communication between the two of them, and our production office became aware very quickly that Stallone was fucking around behind Angie's back.
Oh, shit.
And because now our production office knew, we all knew. The only person who really didn't know was Angie. And that was a very uncomfortable secret to have to keep. Now, there's a story that's a very famous story that Stallone has never denied. The only question has ever been on what set did this take place? And I would tell you this took place on the set of Assassins because I had never heard the story before. And I heard it from my production office in Vancouver, who heard it from the Assassins production office in Seattle. And the story goes something like this. Stallone finishes a scene. He goes back to his trailer, unaware of the fact that his wireless lavalier mic is still broadcasting to the sound card.
Oh, shit.
There's a young woman waiting for Stallone in his trailer, and she proceeds to suck his dick. Now, apparently Sly is very particular about how he likes his Hummers. And now people are beginning to gather around the sound card, and they're hearing Stallone, yeah, that's right, cup the ball, stroke the shaft. Yeah, stroke the shaft, cup the ball.
Wow.
The next day, he arrives on set, and the whole crew are wearing T-shirts that say, stroke the shaft, cup the ball.
Oh, my God. Oh, shit.
That is a true story. He has never denied it. I bet you he still has his T-shirt.
I was going to say, I wonder if he still got the shirt. Oh, jeez. Somebody going to see him wearing that on the set of Tulsa King or something.
Yeah. So that, So that didn't work out so good. You know, here's the problem. Angie's a lovely human being, and this is not a knock on Angie in any way, shape, or form. This was, casting is a serious thing. If you're gonna do it that frivolously, I've hired lots and lots of actors over the course of my career. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, when I hired them to be in a movie or TV series, the last thing on earth I ever wanted them to do was act. If you act for the camera will see it and will have to cut it all out. Great film acting isn't people acting, it's them being.
Oh.
What they're able to do is to tap into something honest inside them. Absolute truth of who they are. That's what you're seeing. They're not acting, they're being. That's the essential. The camera, like the microphone, is a bullshit detector. And if you bullshit, we see it all the time. We see bullshit acting. And that's our response. Inside our heads, we're going, all right, I'll go along with it, but that's bullshit.
Right.
Well, great acting sells us because
you feel
they're
it.
being.
Yeah.
All right. Billy Zane is a wonderful villain in Demon Knight. He's a wonderful villain in Titanic because there's a darkness inside Billy that he can tap into.
Mm-hmm.
Angie is a wonderful person. Through and through, there's not a villainous anything inside her. Even if she had been a trained actress, which she was not, she would have had to act villainous, and that would not have worked. She was not a trained actress, and so all she could do was try to act villainous. It's not her fault. It's the only... We threw her into the deep end, a person unable to swim into the deep end of the pool and said, save yourself.
Wow.
It's a terrible, unfair thing. It's a terrible, unfair ask on our part. But again, we didn't hire her because we thought there was something inside her that would deliver for our movie. We hired her because she was the visitor across the border.
Right. Wow.
So it was a terrible, cynical thing to do, and not good or healthy for anybody. All right. So, like I said, Stallone broke over 2/3 of the way through the movie. By the time we got to the end, we didn't have a finished movie. Gosh, our Canadian crew hated us.
Jeez.
In fact, we didn't even throw the. If I had thrown the wrap party, none of our Canadian crew would have come. So our Canadian production manager, Colleen Neistat, she threw the wrap party, and I was the only American who showed up.
Wow.
And that was not comfortable. That was uncomfortable. That's how terrible a shoot it was. It was, well...
It was nothing but a nightmare, it sounds like.
Yeah, we did not, we could have made our release date, but we didn't. And instead, Universal held us till our release date was Halloween. We shot the Halloween movie. It said they held us to the following August.
What?
They didn't even hold us a couple of more months till the next Halloween. They dumped us in August. The doldrums, they dumped us.
Wow.
By the time the movie was released, in between it ended up taking so long to cut the movie and get it ready. We did the final season of Tales from the Crypt in London, which was nice to be in London, but that was a terrible year of Tales from the Crypt. What a sad way to go out. By the time the movie was released, Gil and I were no longer partners. I had the show that succeeded Tales from the Crypt. We were supposed to do a science fiction series based on the EC comics, and Joel fired me. He said, I don't want you to be on the show. You're not going to do it.
Wow.
And I thought Gil, my partner of a decade, would walk with me, and he didn't. He went to do the show, and I found myself in a terrible place because, all right, with Gil, the first couple of scripts we worked on, we wrote together.
Right.
But Gil and I had a very unusual situation where we produced virtually everything we wrote. Mm-hmm. And so, though Gil he wasn't part of the actual writing process, in filmmaking, the writing continues all the way through to post-production. The script is really just the first part of it. And so, in my mind, the writing process in significant ways continued, and so it didn't bother me to put two names on the script.
Right.
Because it would reflect two people's creative input. But now that Gil and I were no longer creative partners and I needed to go out and restart my career, all my scripts had two names on them. And I could explain as much as I liked. Well, I thought this and what are you talking about, dude? There are two names on the script. Get the fuck out of here. And so I found myself absolutely flat-footed. I was able to score a couple of seasons on The Outer Limits at the Showtime, and those were two really good creative years. But I started into a 2-decade-long depression.
Felt like something was missing.
Oh, well, it's a deepening depression and a writer's block I didn't even know I was in. Now, the good news was I spent those 2 decades raising my 2 kids because when you get kicked off Showbiz Mountain,
Yeah.
it can get really hard to get back in, and that was really painful. I was suddenly disconnected from my world, and because it was such a nasty split. Everyone who was still working, they were with Gil. So Gil got all the friends. He got all my whole creative community.
Wow.
I literally got, but that was me setting myself up for failure. It turned out. Now,
But you weren't expecting that either.
Things got very dark. I was in a self-loathing rage. 3 days before Christmas 2016, I came within literal inches of killing myself.
Oh, shit.
And I knew I'd been heading into a terrible, terrible place. I knew I needed a mood stabilizer, but my dad was a surgeon. I grew up in the medical culture. I knew that my GP had no background whatsoever in this kind of medication. The last pharmaceutical rep who walked through his office, hey, you got any depressed patients? We make this product. Check him out on this. Maybe it'll help him. Well, mood stabilizers are it's a lab experiment under the best of circumstances. And I did not want to be a lab experiment where none of the boxes were checked off. I had done my own research, and now I knew I was quite capable of doing something fatally stupid. And so I drove right to my GP. I told him, here's what I just tried to do. And here's the medication that I would like you to prescribe for me. And he whipped out his smartphone. He said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. He wrote the script. I picked it up. I went home. I told my family what I was going to do. And they said, okay, because they knew I needed to do something. And I took that first minimal dose. And that's when I got so lucky. Within 36 hours, I leveled.
Wow.
I felt the mood stabilizer, the lamotrigine, put the darkness in a cage, not a box. You can still see it. You can still see me. But it could swipe at me, but it couldn't get me anymore. And because my self-loathing rage could not get at me, I could confront the secret I'd been keeping from myself for 45 years. That was at the heart of the self-loathing rage. It turned out that when I was 14, I was sexually molested twice by the religious director at Chizikamuna, the synagogue where my family belonged outside of Baltimore.
Oh, God.
Now, the first time was bad, of course,
Right.
but it was the second time that really fucked me up. Because the second time happened only because I didn't say anything after the first time.
Oh, shit.
And it was during the second time that my 14-year-old brain said to myself, this is happening because you didn't, this is your fault.
Yeah.
This is all your fault. Now, that was not true. It was not my 14-year-old self's fault that an adult was using me like a sex toy. But that became the template. And as you head into adulthood, blaming yourself for everything and trying to fix it accordingly, that doesn't solve any of the problems. And it makes things worse at the end of the day. And as problems get worse and worse in your life, well, it is so true what they say about the truth setting you free.
Yep.
That I was finally able to confront this and stop blaming the 14-year-old me for something I had no business blaming me for. Well, first of all, hey, if you can't tell your own story to yourself, can you really tell anyone else's story? Of course not. And in this moment, when I could suddenly tell my story with balls to the wall honesty to myself, well, I could tell anyone else's story. And I went from being, I'll pat myself on the back, a really good writer, to being a storyteller. And that's
a big difference.
Made all the difference. All the difference in the world. And that became my whole reason to be. That I went from wanting to kill myself. I walk around in a perpetual state of bliss. Now, the lamotrigine keeps the darkness, like I said, in a cage.
Right.
But I'm aware of the fact that we live in a crazy world, an absolutely mad world. I've got a great therapist, and that's perspective. Mm-hmm. I smoke copious amounts of THC flower. That gives me focus because I've got a lot to do. But otherwise, I know why I'm here. During the pandemic, a Tales from the Crypt fan group, 3 Crypt fans from various parts of the country, they created a podcast called Dads from the Crypt.
Really?
And they reviewed all the episodes of Dads of Tales from the Crypt, and they gave parenting advice. One of the dads reached out to me, Jason, and he said, "Hey, we're going to be reviewing one of the episodes you wrote. You want to sit in?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds like fun." And I did, and it was fun. Great fun.
That was your first podcast that you ever were on or whatever?
I had done a podcast during the pandemic with a friend. I've always been grateful to Hebrew School for making me the atheist I am today.
Okay.
I had a social friend over the course of raising my kids who I became friendly with, and I didn't know what his job was. And when I found out he was the pastor at the Silver Lake Community Church, he was an Episcopalian priest, a preacher. And as soon as I knew that, he became so sexy to me. We became even friendlier. We had lunch all the times. Those conversations became so much fun.
Okay.
We started doing a podcast called the Faiththeism Project podcast. It was, an atheist and a Presbyterian pastor walk into a podcast together, and here's what happens. And I learned a lot. I learned how to be a podcaster while doing it, but we never had much of an audience. We didn't know how to find an audience. And I learned a lot. It was such a wonderful experience. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Anyway. So it wasn't my first podcast, but a couple weeks later, Jason reached out to me. He said, "Hey, we're going to be reviewing Bordello of Blood. You want to sit in again?" And I said, "Jason, the story of the making of that fucking movie, 8.5-hour conversation with you, that's a podcast unto itself." And that was the impetus for the first season of the How Not to Make a Movie podcast, The Making of Bordello of Blood, which that first season in which I told the whole story from my origins to the making of Bordello of Blood to even a funny little story at the end. When I was raising my kids, I did a lot of coaching, a lot of youth coaching, soccer, basketball, ultimate frisbee.
Oh wow!
And ultimate frisbee, it was great fun. It's self-officiating. Mm-hmm. There are rules, but among the people that I coach, Billie Eilish, her brother Phineas, coached them. Hey, Silver Lake, these are the kids in the Silver Lake neighborhood. One day there was a dispute over the rules, and we didn't know what the answer was. So I went home, I looked up the rules, and I bumped into something that blew my fucking mind. Who created Ultimate Frisbee? Joel Silver.
Oh, come on.
Blew my fucking mind. All right.
Wow. Oh, shit.
So I told the whole story, every last bit of it. And that's the first season of How Not to Make a Movie podcast, available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Entertainment Weekly called that first season the best film podcast of 2022.
Nice.
I'm very proud to say. I really enjoyed the process of storytelling in this medium because there was a lot of stuff. In order to make the podcast, and I wanted to tell the story as honestly as I possibly could. I knew, and I didn't want to talk to the actors. This was about the people who made the movie, who had experienced Tales from the Crypt and understood why this fiasco was the antithetical. It was the literal antithesis to the creative joy. This was the despair of pure creative cynicism. I was going to have to talk to Gil because he needed to tell, I needed his part of the story. And so we had not talked in 25 years.
Wow.
And I reached out to Gil. I said, here's what I want to do. I want to tell the story of the making of that fucking movie. And I want to talk about our breakup and all the stuff that happened, but I don't want to talk about it beforehand. I want to do everything live on mic.
Which is the way it
And
should
he said, yeah, he was rather fearful about it because who knows where it's going to go.
Right.
But he said, okay. And it was the willingness to be the reason that Clark Collis, the writer at Entertainment Weekly, the reason he told us, the reason that he called us the best film podcast of 2022 was because of its incredible honesty.
Wow.
And that was important to me. And I found, that telling a story, this device here, the microphone is a bullshit detector. Oh, try lying through it. The audience will hear every last deception. I went on to make a couple more seasons of the How Not to Make a Movie podcast. 4 seasons so far in total. It's now on hiatus because I've got
other things in the
other
works,
podcasts right now. But while I was making these subsequent seasons, a friend approached me from school, a guy I grew up with a story he wanted to turn into a screenplay, or into a movie, a TV series. Now, to take an idea from my head, turn it into a TV series. Well, the script, it takes years to write that script. The average is 10 years.
Jesus.
From starting to the thing actually seeing the light of day in production. 10 years is the average.
Damn.
Let's say you're quick. You could do this in 4 years. All right. Now you've got a script. Well, if you're going to go sell it as a TV series, you wrote season 1, episode 1. What happens episodes 2 and 3 and 4 and the rest of season 1? What happens season 2 and season 3, season 4? What's the whole story arc? Who are all these characters? What's the tone? You have to write in order, if you want to sell this, because people are going to have to put up a lot of money. You're going to have to write what's called a Bible.
Right.
And that doesn't write itself. That's another year or so to get right. And the Bible is everything you need to know about the whole series. And as you write that, that's going to impact the script you wrote and back and forth.
Wow, I didn't realize
this
all
in
that
2
was in it.
years. Oh, it's a complicated process. So now you got your script, you got your Bible. Now you're ready for the marketplace. Well, the people you have to impress, you've spent all this time and energy writing all these words for a handful of executives. And you need them to say, yes, let's put this into development. But to induce them just to fucking read, you have to create a pitch deck, which is a PowerPoint presentation, a couple of words, mostly images, just to convey what it is so these apes will go, okay, I'll deign to read this one. I'll deign to read that one. Well, that doesn't create itself either in a heartbeat.
Jesus.
And so it takes forever. And then, okay, let's say you get the ape to go, okay, I'll put this one into development. Well, that's just the top of the meat grinder. Now it's got to go through a whole fucking development process, and there are still thousands of ways and assholes standing in your way, and at any one point, any one of those assholes can kill you dead just because they're an asshole. And who knows what kind of sausage will come out the other end of the sphincter of this meat grinder. Who the fuck knows? And worst of all, the worst part of, all right, as the writer, when I go at the very beginning, having spent all these years to impress a fucking executive, and he goes, okay, let's put it into development. The first thing I'm going to have to do, if I want to get paid, is sign a thing called a certificate of authorship. It has to do with the nature of film and TV distribution. It goes throughout the world, and you can't have some writer asshole going, you know what, I don't want to sell this to Russia because I hate them. You can't have that.
Oh, wow.
So you have to, in essence, buy them out at the start, and that's the certificate of authorship. In order to get paid as the writer, the initiator of the project, you have to give up all your rights in perpetuity throughout the known universe. You no longer, you just spent years working on this. You don't own it anymore.
Wow.
All right. If I take that same idea and I turn it into a podcast, I control every last bit of the writing, the production, the distribution.
Mm-hmm.
I can send this out to the whole world. Same as anybody. Distribution. The monetization and the collection of that monetization all by my lonesome. And the only person taking a cut is the credit card company. They'll get their percentage. Otherwise, it all goes to me, and I still own it 100%. And bonus, hey, I know all the stuff that I ended up working on. Yeah, they'd make a great movie or TV series. In the old days, I'd have had to go cap in hand to those apes in the executive suites, trying to convey from my head to theirs, what's the IP?
Yeah.
What's the franchise? What's the IP? Well, if I do it as a podcast, everyone knows what the IP is. It's there in the podcast. The audience knows what it is. The advertisers know what it is. Everybody does. And so instead of having to go sell it to them, they're going to come buy it from me.
Yep.
And they're going to say to me, that would make a great TV series. I'm going to go, hey, you're right, it would. And they're going to go, hey, there's a check. And I'm going to look at the check and I'm going to say, this is really pretty, but you're going to have to add some zeros and move the decimal point over because you have competition, you jerk. Get the fuck out of here. I believe podcasting will flip the power dynamic from the money to the creatives.
Oh, I think it already is.
Because it's happening now. All the rights exist there with the creatives, and that's the power of no.
Yeah.
In any negotiation, the power rests with the word no. To say, no, we're not negotiating anymore. Fuck off. Mm-hmm. And that now rests with, if it's all about the content, make great content. If you build it, they will come.
And I bet that's why you're seeing a lot of people from Hollywood starting their own podcast now.
Relatively speaking, I'm going to say it costs nothing. That's not true. That's not true. But one person can do this, as I do, for nothing. It's speculative. What's built into the budget, and all my podcasts have a budget. Yes, they're being done on spec, but once the cash flow begins before we can say it's in profits, it has to get paid for. Yeah. There's a production budget. Now, here's the difference. My production budget is minute compared to an episode of TV. It's not even pocket change. It's the lint. Yeah. It's the fluff under the lint is really, relatively speaking, and that's the appeal. You can put a show through its development process as a podcast, and you still have a finished product at the end of the day that an audience can enjoy. So unless you're stupid, you can figure out a way for it to pay for itself. So long as you don't break the bank, so long as you So I had a friend approach me with a story, and he said, I want to make this a great TV series. I said, no, they would never let you do this. You'd have to compromise the story in 1,000 different ways. All right. My friend worked his way through medical school in the 1990s as an anonymous sperm donor. Jump forward 27 years, Hal, let's call him Hal, a successful radiologist. He joined 23andMe curious about his health genes. Never occurred to him the ramifications of adding his DNA to a growing DNA database. That's what 23andMe is. He lost his donor anonymity, and suddenly 7 total strangers found Daddy. Except 6 of them had no idea their actual biological father was this guy, a sperm donor. It is as fucked up a story as I had ever heard in my entire life, and I got a thing for fucked up stories. I love weird, offbeat, dark stories. And this was true. I couldn't make this up if I wanted to. And I said to my friend, we're going to do it as a podcast instead. He said, okay. And I really loved telling his story in the medium. In order to tell his story, I learned about a community I didn't even know existed, the donor-conceived community, this whole community of people discovering that they aren't who they thought they were. Among the people who graciously gave me tremendous background was a woman named Donna Hall, who learned at age 40 that she was donor-conceived.
Wow.
When Donna told me her story, and keep in mind, in the donor, these people that he's bumping into, these are 25, 26, 27-year-old people. These are not children. These are adults discovering as adults, wait, that's not my story doesn't flow from you. My story flows from a stranger who I don't even know.
Wow.
Because where you come from is your story.
Yeah.
Your genes are your story. a woman named Donna Hall agreed to give me some tremendous background. When Donna told me her story, I said, Jesus Christ, Donna, you're a podcast unto yourself. And she said, yeah, I know. I've been trying to do it. And that's the other thing that in working with Donna to do her podcast, Hal's story became The Donor, a DNA horror story. Mm-hmm. And that was my first story podcast. And the Donor, a DNA horror story, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Donna is the evidence, is the proof that even a great story has to be told the right way for it to work as a story. Donna grew up, oh man, what an amazing story. She grew up in a lower tier crime family outside of Philadelphia in the 1990s. The Halls weren't the Corleones from the Godfather movies, but they made national headlines. Donna's mom, Phyllis, maybe the worst mom ever. She made headlines as the Home Alone mom. She spent 6 months in prison for child endangerment. Phyllis, her stepdad, John Hall, was a true criminal mastermind. He was the Philadelphia Police Department's favorite snitch. He put more than 25 people behind bars.
Damn.
Based on bullshit confessions that John Hall concocted to mitigate his own considerable legal jeopardy. Among the people that John Hall put in prison was his own stepson, Herb, who spent 18 months in prison awaiting trial for a murder he did not commit.
Damn.
John Hall put a man named Walter Ogrod on death row in Pennsylvania for 24 years based on a murder Walter did not commit. When Pennsylvania finally released Walter, they gave him $9.1 million to make up for it. Donna describes what it was like growing up in a family where every single day, literally one or more of the adults was doing something profoundly criminal. An amazing story. Donna is an amazing storyteller. She's vivacious. She's funny. Her story is a trip from a nightmare world to safety and empowerment. Telling her story, I found I had become the thing I always wanted to be when I grew up, which is a podcaster. Mm-hmm. And when I say telling her story, Donna tells her own story, but it's the storyteller.
Yeah.
I've got a house style. It's an interview. It's a conversation. But the kind of things that interest me aren't necessarily the things that interest other interviewers. And so we take this extensive interview and I disappear from it. And all you hear is Donna. We add sound and we add music. And the goal is to take you as deep inside her experience as we possibly can in the moment. So you know when she's talking about some rather dark things, you're there with her. I found being able to storytell like that in this medium was sheer creative joy.
It's almost like before TV, you had the old-time radio shows.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But radio still had to broadcast.
Right.
The distribution system you still had to go through a company.
Right.
Well, now we have podcasting and the internet, and it really, for my distribution, I use Acast.
Yeah.
And man, I upload to them, and now it's all over the world. That's it.
And the big difference between now and radio in general is people can listen, hit that pause button, and come back later and continue listening. You could, or even download it.
Oh, yes. I realized that that's all I wanted to do for this podcast. Gil and I, not only did we become friends again after working on the How Not to Make a Movie podcast, but we began to work together creatively. We had put together a terrific project. This was last year, which we wanted to take out to the TV marketplace. But the film and TV business are so fucked up that even a great package that we had put together, Ernest Dickerson was going to direct it. We had some interesting actors lined up who had great social media presence. We had 6 million social media presence lined up to come in. We had an incredible package. The Tales from the Crypt guys doing a Tales from the Crypt-like show. It's not Crypt, but it was a continuous story. But it was so crypty. And
have anything to do with like elves or anything?
No, it was about flesh-eating ghouls. It's called Are You Afraid?
Okay.
It's about flesh eating ghouls, because that's the last thing it's the last thing you'll hear. If someone says, "Are you afraid?" It's because the flesh eating ghouls knows you are, and that's what they're about to feast on, is your fear.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could not get arrested. We couldn't, and so I decided I want nothing more to do with this business. Podcasting is where I'm going to put everything, and I will do Are You Afraid as a podcast.
I like that.
Yeah, I will do it as a podcast first. I threw myself into podcasting, and right now, as we speak, I've got 9 complete, 9 podcasts.
9 different shows.
Podcasts. 9 different shows out in the world. The one that I just started releasing most recently, we're super excited about because it is exploding. It's getting, incredible response. It's called John Kiriaku's Dead Drop. My friend John Kiriakou is an ex-CIA officer. He is maybe one of the best known spies in the entire world. During the War on Terror after 9/11, we went after Al-Qaeda's leadership. John was in counterterrorism, and he was part of the group that captured the guy who we thought was the number 3 at Al-Qaeda. His nom de guerre was Abu Zubaydah in Pakistan. And we captured Abu Zubaydah in Pakistan, and for the first 60 hours that we held Abu Zubaydah, John Kiriakou was his handler and his interrogator.
Oh, wow.
Eventually, Abu Zubaydah was moved on to various other interrogation sites, some black sites, it turned out in the end. We learned that actually he was not the number 3 at Al-Qaeda. He was not a prince, but he wasn't the number 3 at Al-Qaeda, and he gave us lots of really good, actionable intelligence. In spite of that fact, John learned, we waterboarded Abu Zubaydah 83 times.
Damn!
He now lives at Guantanamo. When John learned that we had done that to the man, he ratted out the torture program and spent 23 months in federal prison. The reason we don't have a torture program anymore is because of John Kiriakou. And this was a rather famous incident when he told this story to a journalist from ABC. Like I said, he spent 23 months in federal prison. John's a fucking hero. John has told his story many, many times, but not like this, not on this granular level. And what I wanted to do, and in Dead Drop, the first story that we're telling, because it's really, the subtitle is What Makes a Spy Tick. And the first spy that we're going to talk about is John. What makes this spy tick? And the first series is going to be, when we started, I thought it was going to be 5 or 6. Then it's 10. Now, I don't know how many episodes it's going to be. It's the story of, all right, I want to take you through everything that made John as a human being to the moment when he decided he had to tell the world that America was torturing people. I want to place the audience inside his head as he makes this life-changing decision and world-changing decision. We just started dropping, actually the 3rd episode just dropped on Monday. We've already got 10,000 listener downloads.
Nice.
Actually, we got 12,000 listener downloads already. We've struck a nerve. We dropped on the same day that John appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Really?
Yeah, John Kiriakou appeared on Joe Rogan. He was not allowed to mention the podcast though, because Rogan didn't want him advertising anything.
Right.
But they had a 2-hour, I'll call it a conversation. It was mostly John Kiriakou doing all the talking, and Joe Rogan gotten more than 2 million views on Facebook, on the YouTube channel already. On the Joe Rogan, that episode has gotten more than 2 million views already. John is a remarkable storyteller, and it's about time that the whole world really got to know him.
Yeah.
And that's what Dead Drop is really all about, to take you as deep inside the experience of what makes a spy tick. The kind of, as John explains in one of the episodes, the reason that they recruited him, and he got recruited by a legend, by a CIA legend, they need people who are honest and yet somewhat sociopathic. People who, like I said, are honest but can live in a gray area where, okay, I'm going to have to do this to accomplish that. Okay. People willing to bend the rules to enforce the rules, I guess, is what they're looking for.
Some amazing. I've had a couple people that have either worked in the FBI or CIA, Spec Ops. Amazing people to talk to.
Interesting breed of cat.
Oh yes, and the thing is, with what you said there, you don't know how many episodes it's going to be yet. That's the joy of podcasting.
Oh, and that's just this one story we're telling. There are lots of stories we're going to tell. When we agreed to do this, part of the point of the exercise, all right, we didn't set out to make money. Mm-hmm. And you should never start doing a podcast because you want to get rich. Do not count on any such thing, even remotely happening. Dude. The point of the exercise is tell a story with absolute honesty. If you can do that, all right. And hey, you have all the creative means at your disposal here.
Yeah.
If you just want to sit and talk into the mic, your one obligation is do not bore your audience. And so long as you can create this bond with an audience and give that audience a version of your story that compels them to keep listening to you, well, then you have got something. And if you can get enough of those people, you can have advertisers or other ways to monetize. But it all starts with telling an honest story honestly.
Mm-hmm. That bullshit detector will pick it up.
Absolutely, positively. And so that has been my journey to really from where I started to where I am. And as I said, I now walk around in a perpetual state of bliss. Every single day. I'm from the start of my day to the end of my day. I'm being creative. I'm storytelling with all these people's stories. And again, there's like John. There's another podcast that I'm really excited about. It's called Just a Photographer with David Swanson. David is a Pulitzer Prize winning photojournalist. David, he took one of the iconic 9/11 photos of the first responders down in the pit. He's covered war zones from Serbia to Afghanistan to Iraq, natural disasters, Katrina, earthquakes in Haiti, the wildfires here in Los Angeles. And this podcast tells the stories his photos can't. His photos can tell you what it looked like standing in all those dangerous places, but they kind of tell you what it felt like standing there. And that's what Just the Photographer does. As David explains, you can go to a war zone and you can leave it, but the war zone never leaves you.
Exactly.
And it changes you. And that also is what it's about, how telling the story changed the storyteller.
Wow. Now, have you worked with any businesses when it comes to storytelling?
Yes. There's one of our podcasts is called Sage Wellness Within. On Dr. Andrea Thorpe, she is a practitioner of Chinese medicine, and this is about Chinese medicine. But it's also about her practice.
Ooh.
But it's about the 5,000-year-old Chinese medicine, which
still works.
Actually, it's quite, when you actually understand what is the nature of its thinking, you realize it sees us in many ways much more profoundly than modern medicine does. It understands us much more profoundly because it's very metaphorical. Mm-hmm. And that's sometimes what modern medicine thinks of as you're rather old-fashioned. Well, no, it's being metaphorical, and human beings are metaphorical. My dad was a physician. He was a surgeon.
Yeah.
And he was always quite clear on the fact that what he did for a living was equal parts science and art. And the art part is because he's dealing with human beings. And we're sometimes, actually quite often, bad at saying what's wrong with us.
Yeah.
You have to really understand human beings if you really want to know what's ailing them. It's much trickier than that. And Chinese medicine, and again, because we're always comparing things, our experience to another experience.
Yeah.
That's what a metaphor is. Two experiences unlike each other that suddenly, the one reveals something about the other. I would say that's why AI can never, ever duplicate human beings, because AI cannot, it can't understand a metaphor. AI must be literal. And metaphor comes from human experience. Comparing a sunset to a Buick, or hey, what David does in one of the episodes, a photo he didn't take but wishes he had, after a very brutal day where a bunch of Marines died. As the vehicle in which they died was being hauled down the hallway by other Marines, one of the Marines was standing on top of it, and it set up this array of sparks. And as David sat in the vehicle behind, he said it looked like he was surfing.
Wow.
And it was the most extraordinary thing he'd ever seen. It was so beautiful. But he just let the moment go. He didn't reach for his camera. He just soaked it in.
Yeah.
Something he wasn't used to doing. But being in a war zone could have a moment of profound beauty like that. That's what I want to capture.
And that's
the unexpected.
Yeah.
Beauty, but also the humanity. That's my goal.
And that's the thing with a podcast like his. Rod Stewart always said it best. Every picture tells a story. But the thing is, the photographer, how many of those shots did they miss? And they wanted to tell that story. Now they can because of the podcast.
Or what it took to get that shot.
Yeah.
David tells about, hey, he got wounded in Iraq. He was there with a unit of Marines during a firefight, and they ended up in a ditch, and not everyone survived.
Or sometimes they have to be restaged. I think of Iwo Jima, raising the flag. That's not the original thing that you see.
No. It's anyway. Being able to tell these stories, that's
it's a blast.
That's my purpose in life. This medium is everything. I cannot imagine wanting to do anything in any other medium. And the people in this community are wonderful.
I look forward to, and it's funny because the weekend comes and it's like, okay, is it Monday yet? Because I look forward to doing this. Yeah, I love this, and this is networking. What we're doing, all the people you meet,
always,
and you stay. I mean, I can't tell you how many guests I've had on more than once, because especially when it comes to podcasting. Because, hell, I knew you were going to be on again because I knew there's going to be other new podcasts that you need to talk about.
Oh, gosh. But
and your daughter's got to send me the damn crochet thing.
We're part of a community, and even podcasts which tread the same territory, we're not competing with each other. Because of the nature of how people consume podcasts, they can consume us all. We're not competitors, we're companions.
Thank you for saying that, because I was talking to a good friend of mine. I got him into podcasting, and he just guested on a podcast. And he actually guested on 2 podcasts. And the one podcast that he was on, the host got pissed at him for going on another podcast. I told him right away, I said, then that host should not be podcasting.
He doesn't understand the nature of podcasting.
Exactly. You should.
And that's good for his podcast, because the more people that suddenly want to, hey, I like that guy. I want to hear he's on another podcast. No, you idiot. You're not looking for exclusivity. It's really not the way you're thinking about it.
No.
The only exclusivity shouldn't be the person. It should be the way that your interview went.
Exactly.
Your interview is the only exclusive you are entitled to. If you don't have the insight to create a great interview, then that ain't on them. That's on you, mate.
Exactly. Big question here. Is there like one website where everybody can go to find all of them?
Yes. There's a one-stop shop.
Okay.
And that's at costardandtouchstone.com, HTTPS. But if you just type in Costard and Touchstone, COSTARDAND, Touchstone, TOUCHSTONE.com. CostardandTouchstone.com. That will link you to where all the podcasts are, and will link you to where you can listen to them. But of course, they're all available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. But the master list is there, and even some of our coming attractions.
I love. Oh, say that again. Coming attractions.
We've got coming attractions. We've got some really, really, really cool podcasts in the works.
Question for you. Because I have to go in and listen to them. Trailers.
Yes.
You do trailers for your podcast, right?
I when I can, yes. And the only times I don't is just because I haven't had time to.
Right.
It's the only reason. But a good trailer, yeah. Hey, look, if it brings in another listener, if it helps sell, and that's what its job is.
Yeah.
It's a sales tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no reason not to do it. Anything to help bring people in. If you can take 90 seconds and convince someone that they need to listen to your podcast, well, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they'll walk right by.
Exactly.
It really that... If you build it, they will come. If you don't build it, nothing will happen. It's that simple.
And don't bullshit them. Don't bullshit.
Oh, no. Really, this has got to look, it's an honest sales pitch. Why you, why now, why this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And what will give them a hint of the experience.
Yeah.
Of what these are people who listen to a lot of podcasts. Okay, why might this one get under their skin? Because that's really should be your mission.
Yeah.
To get under their skin and not into their heads. Yes. But man, down to their mitochondria. When's the next episode dropping? Really? Can you not drop it a day sooner? You bastard. That's what you want.
Oh, God.
That's what you want.
Well, Alan, before I get to my last question, is there anything you would like to add?
God, haven't I said too much already?
Not at all.
Haven't I just gone on and on and on? Just shut the fuck up already.
I could sit here and listen to you for hours.
You are too kind.
Seriously, because, I mean, your story, you're telling stories, and that's the important thing. I keep telling people, that's one of the things I love about this, that and the learning. I learn so much, the stories that I hear, and we talk to people that are in addiction recovery a lot.
Sure.
And the stories I hear from them, I can't tell you how many times guests have brought me to tears, not just of laughing, but because of their stories and the sadness.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my God. And I think the biggest reward I've gotten is when somebody, a listener, reaches out to me and thanks me for a guest I've had on because it's changed their life. And that's what I look for every time. All right, now,
absolutely.
This is going to be tricky. Pick a number between 1 and 100.
57.
57. Why 57?
It's one of my wife's lucky numbers.
Okay.
Well, actually, 27 is her lucky number. 27, I take it back. 27.
All right, so 27, not 57?
27.
Okay, 27.
Not 57.
All right, now I got to go back. Hold on.
Now you've ruined everything.
No, okay, this is good. I got 100 different questions here, and I don't even know what they all are. What's a habit you've cultivated that has significantly improved your life?
A habit? Well, all right. I would say tennis.
Oh, really?
Yes. I have played tennis my whole life, but up until I got to the other side of my depression, I hated it because I didn't know how to coach myself. And I would, well, if you're always angry at yourself, you think by screaming at yourself,
yeah,
you did it wrong, you did it wrong. Okay, that will not help you do it right. As I began to get mentally healthy, and I began to coach myself, I suddenly found a love for tennis I didn't even know I had, and not just a love for it, a skill set. I was always an okay player. I started getting good. Because I understood how to coach myself, and I suddenly understood how to make myself a better player. And I began to discover that, okay, not only was I enjoying tennis completely, where suddenly it's fun from the moment I get on the court to the moment I leave. It's fun. But I began to discover the zen of it. And I began to discover life lessons in tennis that I could take into work with me, and lessons from work that I could take into tennis. And suddenly tennis, it wasn't just great recreation. It was
therapy.
It was adding to my storytelling, and my storytelling was adding to it.
Wow. All right.
So that's how I would answer that question.
Now I got to get out there and try to play tennis. Now I'll try pickleball first.
You should. The thing about tennis. It's apparently the healthiest sport you can play.
Really?
It is. That there is data that says of all the sports you could possibly play, it's the least hard on your body, while delivering the most aerobics and all the other things.
I guess that makes sense.
Keep you. It's during the pandemic. Interestingly, and having played tennis all the way through the pandemic, when other sports were off,
contact sports and all. Yeah.
You couldn't play basketball. You couldn't. They closed basketball courts. They didn't close tennis courts because you stand so far away from the person you're playing with. So you could play tennis with someone even during the pandemic. And so a lot of people started playing tennis during the pandemic because it was the one form of exercise that you could do.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it got harder to find a free court after the pandemic. It fucked everything up.
All right, so what you're telling me, instead of putting that garden in my backyard, I need to put a tennis court in.
Absolutely. I'd say put a pickleball court in, but they're loud. That's a noisy sport. Your neighbors will fucking hate you.
If I put the podcast studio back there, they'll probably hate me then too, because when I'm not recording, I'll have to be barbecuing and, well, never mind. That's a whole nother story.
Things podcasters have to do as part of the podcasting lifestyle, man.
Alan, I want to thank you so much, man. It's been a true honor, and
the pleasure has been mine, Rich. Really and truly, you are a gracious host, and thank you for having me, man.
Oh, and the door is open anytime you want to come back on.
I will take that again, because there are more podcasts to talk about, more stories to talk about, and I tell these stories because they mean a lot.
I love that, Alan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going. It takes a lot to put a podcast together, and my sponsors help out a lot, but I also have some supporters that actually help me when it comes to the editing software, the hosting, and so forth. There's a lot that goes into putting this together. So I want to thank them. And if you can, please visit their websites, visit their businesses, support them however you can. So please visit the following. Full Circle Boards. Nobody does charcuterie like Full Circle Boards. Visit them at fullcircleboards.com. Sincerely Sawyer Photography. Live in the moment. They'll capture it. Visit them at sincerelysawyer.com. The Joppatown Lions Club, serving the community since 1965. Visit them at joppatownlionsclub.org. And don't forget the E at the end of Joppatown, because they're extraordinary.